Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm AmandaMuse, and today we're going to be reacting to and talking about parenting tweens. I'm not quite in the teen phase. If you can believe it, my daughter, who was in this video, do you all remember this one? Rainy Day Singing. I think there's something like 11 million views, so a few of you have definitely seen it. But she's 12 and a half now, which is wild. There's nothing like having kids that makes you recognize time, just the passing of time. So I started this channel when she was 6 months old, and here we are, she's a tween. And I like to talk about things that are relevant to my existing current day life, you know what I mean? So we're gonna talk about parenting. I know that you've heard the horror stories about parenting teens, parenting tweens. I'm not quite in the full teen phase, so I'll get back to you on that one. But I have to say that so far, it's kind of fun. There's definitely some chaotic energy, some dramatic energy, but I am also a dramatic, chaotic person at times. So bring it on. One thing is true about my personality is that I don't like being told what I'm gonna think or feel or do. So when people, the world, tells me that parenting teens and tweens is horrible, or they're awful, or it's such a tricky time, and I'm like, I'll make my own assessment, thank you very much. And here we are, and it's not awful. It's so fun to see your kids morph into these people because they're gonna be themselves. This is obviously like a very heightened version. I feel like you're looking at a cartoon character who's shape-shifting and they're figuring out what's gonna stick with their personality. It's an interesting time. It's honestly kind of amazing to even be privy to it. I enjoy it. I also realize that maybe a difference between myself and the way that I was parented, not to say that I have like three parents, you know, I have a dad and then I have a mom and a stepdad, but I feel very secure in myself. I feel very confident financially. Not that I can say I know exactly how my parents felt when they were parenting me, but I just think there's a lot of circumstances that I don't have to deal with that they did, which may have me reacting in a different way. I also feel like my cup is very full. Like I do all the things that make me feel good, and not in a selfish, like bad way, but in a selfish, I'm a better person way. And I do think that that helps a lot in terms of how we parent and how we show up for our kids, how we show up for ourselves and our partners. So that's probably a video for another day, but what I want to talk about today is that teen drama, right? So I've mentioned before, but I really, really like the way that Dr. Lisa Damour talks about parenting teens and tweens. And I want to show you a clip from a video that it sort of encapsulates a lot of why I love her. So let's watch that video together. So this particular video is when Dr. Lisa Damour is on another podcast. I believe it's called the Rich Roll Podcast. It's not a podcast I particularly listen to regularly, but I've heard him before and his clips pop up for me. The algorithm just, you know, it's got me figured out. So let's watch this video and then we'll discuss.
When kids come our way to tell us they are upset, overwhelmingly, all they want and all they need is for us to listen and be empathic. If one of my daughters is telling me she's upset about something, I'll picture she's a reporter and I'm her editor, and she's reading me the article of her distress, and that when she gets to the end of the article, I just have to produce the headline. Like I have to have listened so intently that I can distill it and summarize it and add nothing and give it back to her. That is overwhelmingly what teenagers are looking for. And so often what they get instead is advice. Curiosity plus empathy, or just empathy, is, I would say, overwhelmingly the most effective and also wanted response when teenagers come our way with their distress.
Short but effective, hey? I feel like that really lands for me. And a lot of what I'm gonna say might be like regurgitated by things I've heard on her podcast, because she has a really great podcast. I believe it's called the Lisa Damour Podcast. So when your kid is going through something, it seems so dramatic for a few reasons. One, they've probably never gone through said experience before. Friendship breakup, something that happened in class, you know, friendship dynamics, sporting events, maybe a love interest. Like there's all these things, body type issues, you name it. Our kids are going to be going through all of this that we've probably been through a dozen times, but they've never been through this. And so they literally don't have the coping skills to handle the situation. So one, it's gonna feel super awful and very dramatic. I kind of hate the word dramatic because it definitely has like a negative intonation, but there's a lot of emotions happening, right? And emotions are not bad. If we can name them, if we can talk about them and we can articulate what they are, then we can know how to deal with them and they come up again. Because the reality is like, it's gonna come up again, right? I love that she talks about that, like not to diminish their lived experience because it is very dramatic to them. And as much as we want to be like, oh my God, please get over it, this is so ridiculous, you don't want to be that guy, you know? You don't want to be that person that's like, ew, boo hoo, like, woe is you. Come to me with more serious problems. Because if your kids are not going to come to you with the little things, I guarantee they're not going to come to you with the big things. I know you've heard that before. I mean, it's a freaking walking meme, you know? But it's true. So how we handle these little interactions kind of lays out the landscape for future interactions. So one is, treat it with empathy, like she said, curiosity and empathy. Tell me more about the situation. Tell me why you're feeling upset. Do you want me to offer you a solution, or are you just looking to like kind of vent and you want me to like just take it all in? Because I can do both. I've always said that my parenting mission is like I'm trying to raise good adults. So good adults have great coping skills because you know the ones that don't. Okay. So I do love what Dr. Lisa Damour says is like, yeah, they've never been through it. So it feels very hard and feels very unique to them. And because they've never been through it, they don't have like the scar tissue to get them through the next experience. So having a daughter who's 12 and a half, we have seen some friendships dissolve and it sucks. And as a parent, I've definitely made mistakes in how I handled those situations. So something that I did that I regret or just have learned from is probably a better way to position that, is that now, when my daughter's feelings are hurt or there's something that's happened and she's been kind of done wrong by a friend, I try to like take my emotions out of it so that I'm not with the pitchfork like ready to take down, you know, whoever has hurt my baby, like full mama bear, which there is a time and place for that, but not always. So I've learned some, you know, how to finesse that situation along the way, because what I've also learned is that a friendship breakup may not be a permanent thing. So where often adults, you know, you have a friendship dissolve and you're like, well, that was kind of nice. It held a time and place. And you look back on it with kindness and fondness, but you're not really looking to, you know, reignite that friendship. That's not the case when you're like 11 and 12, because these kids are often in the same classes, they often go to the same schools, or they play on the same sports teams. So I am learning to offer a bit of space for forgiveness to occur, because isn't that a learning experience too as a kid, to be like, oh yeah, this didn't go well, you know, I'm writing this person off, but is it forever? Because I don't know, sometimes people acknowledge their mistakes, show you that they're willing to do things differently, and then you can give them a second chance. Like that's a lesson too, isn't it, in life? So that's something I've learned, is like, leave space for forgiveness and friendship rehabilitation. I adore that visualization of your child telling you whatever's going on, all their feelings, and you're like this reporter and you're jotting down notes and you're trying to come up with this headline. I love that, because one, it gives me a job. I'm like a doer by nature, and I want to fix whatever pain my kid is going through, but you literally can't fix everything for them. And so to learn how to take this step back and give them the space to vent, to just listen, to potentially offer no feedback. Right? I will say one other thing is very true though. Like, have you seen that video that's like, there was a TikTok trend where it was something along the lines of like, you know, I'd love to be friends with you again, but I've already told my mom what you did and like, she doesn't forgive you. This is true. When you do wrong by my children, I'm never gonna forget. It's always gonna be right there. You know what I mean? I'll let you guys be friends again. But I also feel a little bit like a referee, like I'm really paying attention. I'm helping subtly point out behaviors that maybe my kid recognizes that they just don't appreciate in other people. So that's something that you're like more referee than fully immersed. You know, you're definitely taking this like standoff approach. The other thing I've been finding pretty fascinating is that when I give my child a chance to be the leader in their own problem solving, I am often astounded, literally, shooketh with the boundaries that my kid has put in place for herself. And it's quite amazing. Without getting too specific, because it is her life, the overarching theme is that she would rather spend a few days solo than have people in her life that don't treat her with dignity and respect. And I think that in itself, like, first of all, maybe Dean and I taught her those lessons. I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm still learning that to this day, and I'm 40 years old, you know? So it's kind of amazing when you give your kids a chance to show you what they can do with their own big emotions and how they feel about things, right? Here's another little video. It was another short that Lisa shared that we'll watch and then we'll debrief.
And I think that one of the hardest things about raising a teenager is you actually cannot guarantee your teenager's safety. Like, there's nothing you can do to guarantee that your teenager will not find themselves in a position that's truly dangerous. That is so scary. I can say that both as a parent and as a psychologist who cares for kids. But I also know that fear is a terrible position from which to parent. The best gift we can give our kids, especially our teenagers, is to try to be a steady presence. You know, for them, you know, a failed test, ruptured friendship feels disastrous. Like, that's how they experience emotions. And they come home to us and they lay it in front of us. And the best gift we can give them is to be very empathic and very attentive to it, but not to react at that at their level, much less above it.
Did you catch that little line at the end? To not react at their level, much less above it. Like, if my kid's at like a 6 in terms of her emotions about it, and I come in at a 12, I've just escalated this issue unnecessarily. And listen, I've done that, which is why I'm sharing about it now. I've learned, okay? I am definitely a person who's like, girl, is the problem me? Because like I can fix that. I can control how I react in most situations. But isn't that so true? Like, as parents, you welcome these tiny babies and you protect them from everything. Your Band-Aids, you're bubble wrapping them, all the outlets are secure, and then all of a sudden you like release them into the world, right? But it's that confidence that you can start to, nurture within yourself, that you've equipped them with the right skills to handle these situations, and that when they come and share with you, they may not need you to solve every problem. It is a wild, wild experience, that in itself. Like, what do you mean? You don't need me to like come in and like fix everything? So practically, things that I do is I literally sometimes I can't lead with, do you want me to listen or do you need a solution? Like, that's not always appropriate. But like, either in the moment after that conversation or once kind of the dust has settled a little bit, hey, did you want me to approach this with the teacher? Like, Esme's in grade 7 going into grade 8. So obviously there's a lot more independence there, but it's like, hey, did you want me to address this with the school, or like, have you got this? And then I gauge my reaction and my actions based on what she would like, because I do think there's a bit of like consent here. So I really, really love that approach. And it seems so simple because in a way it kind of is. But at this moment, what I have found is that doing that little thing, these little steps, when, we're in a crisis, in a teen-tween crisis, has allowed the other part of a relationship to blossom, and it flourishes. And I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, I might even have some links. If I do, I'll share them below. But I was talking about like that connection with my daughter and how important this is, because growing up, I didn't have the best connection with my own mom. And part of it when she was younger was like physical connection. So, when she was in like grade 5, grade 6, probably even grade 4, 5, 6, there's like, they physically start to pull away from you. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm not a super touchy-feely person, and so it's kind of my natural state to not be super physically affectionate. So knowing that, I was like, whoa, girl, nuh-uh, we're not repeating history here. So I would crawl into my daughter's bed and like we would chat at the end of the day, or I'd roughhouse with her, because often, I don't want to be like gender specific, but it's kind of true. Like, dads will often roughhouse with their sons, but they often kind of stop play fighting with their daughters. I would like to challenge that, like keep maintaining that physical connection. Even just like some of my friends, I've shared this with some of my friends. Some of my friends' kids aren't super physical either. And you're obviously going to go within the boundaries of what your kid likes, but that could also just look like sitting next to each other on the sofa and your arms kind of touching. With my son who's 10, he's not like holding mom's hand on the regular, but like if we're in the mall, if I kind of like reach for his hand or something, he'll grab it, even if it's just for like 30 seconds. right? Those little moments, or like I love to fluff hair with my daughter. We're not fluffing hair, especially when she spent hours doing it. So you gauge it based on your own kid, but like, commenting on maybe the outfit they chose. Maybe you love that outfit. And trust me, every time it's like, oh my God, mom, you're the worst, or oh my God, you're so cringe, or whatever it is. I don't care. I know deep down though, she knows that mom's paying attention. Mom's noticed when she's done something new. I always knock on her door to give her privacy when I come in. Sometimes I'll just like steamroll her on her bed, just like roll around. I try to stay physical with her because it's just, I don't know, man. Teenagers and tweens kind of physically retreat from you, and you know your kid best. You're going to know what to do. But that's been working for me to maintain that connection, not just like a friendly connection, but like this physical connection with my kids, which I think is actually really, really important. Like just think about when you go like time without hugging another human or having another human respond to you with curiosity and empathy. Like you kind of feel weird in your person. Like we're not meant to be completely isolated and alone. And so I try to maintain that with my kids. I could go on and on about this topic because maintaining that connection with my child, especially my tween daughter right now, as she's going through like just a really big change in her life, there's this like separation that's happening, right? And I want her to go out and be this super independent person out in the world, but I'm also her mom. And so I'm terrified about her getting into cars with other people. And like, I still have fears that are coming, but in this moment, I have the confidence that I know my relationship with my daughter, we're tight. We have fun. I pay attention to the music that she likes, and I learn the lyrics too, because honestly, the kid's got great taste in music. She steals most of my clothes, and it's fine. I take literally nothing she says to me personally, like fucking zero things, because tweens, they will break your damn heart. There was another video. Shit, I wish I could find it. It's also from Lisa Damour, of course it is, so fitting. But I'll paraphrase, she was basically saying like, as a parent of teens and tweens, if you are looking to gauge your parental like impact and success based on how your kid treats you, you are going to be wildly disappointed and probably doubt yourself a ton. So it is so important to have a little village, a community of perhaps other people who are parenting teens and tweens, because it is a roller coaster and no two kids are the same. But having that support is super important. Having your independence outside of parenthood is so important. So that's like another thing, is that, I know I'm awesome. I don't care what she says to me. It's usually because she's hungry or there's some crisis going on or whatever, one of her needs, she's bored or not being met. Girl, you cannot come at me. Like, I made you. You might be spicy, I'd be spicier. Trying to not take it so seriously, trying to not let your feelings get hurt in the process, I think is just really good advice. Do I always get this right? Absolutely not. Trust me, sometimes my buttons get pushed in just the right order that I could like blow the roof off the top of this house. Okay? The girl gets her spice from someone. So, just saying. I'd love to know what's working for you. Let me know in the comments, like what ways do you like to connect with your kids? And let me know if this kind of video is interesting to you, because I have so much more that I could talk about. Like literally one of my main goals is to maintain that connection with my kids as they grow up, because I truly believe that the biggest flex as a grown ass person is if your adult children still want to be near you. Literally my goal. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye guys.